Welcome to my channel, Debt-Free Path. I did not cry the day I realized I was wasting my life with money. I just sat there, quiet, staring at a kitchen table that felt colder than usual. The house was silent. No voices, no laughter, just the soft sound of the clock ticking on the wall. Tick, tick, tick. I remember thinking, how did I get here? I worked hard. I showed up every day, and yet everything felt broken. Not all at once, not loudly, but slowly, quietly. I used to believe money problems happened to other people, people who were careless, people who were lazy, people who made bad choices. I did not see myself as one of them. But that morning, sitting alone with a cup of cold coffee, I finally understood something painful. I was not poor. I was not unlucky. I was rushed. I rushed decisions. I rushed purchases. I rushed dreams and money. Money does not forgive rushing. I grew up in a simple home, nothing fancy, but it was warm. My parents believed in working slow and steady. They paid cash for things. They saved a little each month. They talked about money in calm voices, never in fear. When I got married, I wanted more, not peace, more, a bigger house, a newer car, better vacations, things that looked good from the outside. My spouse trusted me with finances. I said, I've got this. And I meant it, at least I thought I did. Credit cards came first, just one, then another, then a limit increase. It's fine, I told myself, we'll pay it later. Later became months. Months became years. Every purchase felt small, but together they became heavy. Still, life looked normal. The lights stayed on, food stayed on the table, smiles stayed on our faces, but peace was leaving quietly. The tension did not start with a fight. It started with silence. I stopped opening bills right away. I stopped checking balances. I stopped sleeping well. At dinner, my spouse would ask, "Are we okay?" And I would say, "Yes, don't worry." But I was worried all the time. One night, I heard my child ask, "Why are you always tired?" I did not answer. Bills stacked up like letters from the past, reminding me of promises I never kept. I tried to fix things fast. Overtime, side hustles, quick money ideas. None of them worked. The faster I moved, the deeper I sank. That is when I first heard Dave Ramsey's voice on the radio. He sounded calm, firm, not angry. "Stop wasting money," he said. "Slow down, get a plan." I turned the radio off. I was not ready to listen. The breaking moment came quietly. No shouting, no slam doors, just numbers. I finally added everything up, all the debt, all the payments, all the interest. My hands shook. I realized something painful. I was working for my past, not my future. That night, I told the truth, all of it. There were tears, not anger, just sadness. My spouse said softly, "We should have slowed down." That sentence stayed with me. The next morning, I turned the radio back on. Dave Ramsey was still there, talking about patience, talking about peace, talking about moving slowly. For the first time, I listened. We cut up the cards, not dramatically, just quietly. We made a budget. It was uncomfortable, but honest. We stopped eating out, stopped impressing people, stopped pretending. Progress was slow, painfully slow, but something changed. We slept better. We talked more. We laughed again. Money stopped being scary because we stopped running. Slow steps, small wins, peace returning 1 month at a time. Today, our house is still simple. Our car is still old, but our hearts are light. I learned something I wish I knew earlier. Wisdom with money means moving slowly, listening more, chasing less. If you feel behind, you are not alone. If you feel tired, you are not weak. Slow down, make a plan, choose peace. Money is a tool, not a race. And life feels better when you stop running. After we made the budget, I thought the hard part was over. I was wrong. The hardest part was not the math, it was the waiting. Every month felt long. Every dollar felt watched. I remember standing in the grocery store one evening, holding 2 items in my hands, one name brand, one cheaper. My child was beside me, quiet, watching. I chose the cheaper one, not because I wanted to, because I needed to. That small moment hurt more than any bill. At home, we stopped buying things to feel better, so feelings came out instead. Sadness, regret, guilt. Sometimes we sat together on the couch, not talking, not because we were angry, but because we were tired. Tired of past choices, tired of pretending everything was fine. One night, my spouse said softly, "I wish we learned this sooner." I nodded. I wish the same. Friends invited us out. We said no. Family planned trips. We stayed home. Social media showed smiling faces and new things. We closed the app. There were moments I wanted to quit, moments I thought, what's the point? But then something small would happen. A bill paid off, a balance reaching zero, a quiet smile at the kitchen table. Progress whispered instead of shouted. The real turning point did not come from money, it came from time. One evening, the power went out during a storm. Rain hit the windows softly. We lit candles, sat together, no screens, no noise. My child laughed at the shadows on the wall. In that moment, I realized something important. We were present, we were calm, we were together. All the rushing before had stolen moments like this. Dave Ramsey's words came back to me again. Live like no one else, so later you can live like no one else. For the first time, that made sense. It was not about stuff. It was about space. Space to breathe. Space to live. Months passed, then a year. Debt numbers went down slowly. Confidence went up quietly. We started talking about dreams again, not big ones, simple ones. A paid-for car, a calm holiday, a future without fear. Money stopped. PE controlling our moods. We stopped blaming each other. We started supporting each other. Sometimes we still messed up. But now we stopped, we corrected, we moved on slowly. One afternoon, I cleaned out an old drawer, found old credit cards, expired, useless. I held them for a moment. They once promised comfort. They delivered stress. I threw them away. That felt like freedom. Not loud freedom, quiet freedom, the kind that lets you sleep at night. If I could speak to my younger self, I would say this. Slow down. You do not need everything now. You do not need to impress anyone. Wisdom with money is patience. It is saying no today so you can say yes tomorrow. If you are listening right now and feeling overwhelmed, hear me clearly. You are not broken. You are not late. You are learning. Take one step, then another. Peace comes slowly, but it comes. And when it does, it stays. Time has a strange way of teaching lessons. It does not rush. It does not argue. It simply waits. As months turned into years, I began to see the quiet cost of my old habits. Not just the money, but the moments I missed. I remembered birthdays where I was distracted, family dinners where I was tired, conversations I rushed because my mind was somewhere else. Money stress does that. It steals attention. One evening, my child sat beside me at the table, homework spread out, pencil tapping softly. They looked up and asked, "Are we poor?" The question hit my chest gently, but deeper. I took a breath and said, "No, we are learning." That answer was true. My parents noticed the changes before anyone else. They did not ask questions. They just smiled more. My mother once said quietly, "You seem lighter." I was not because we had more money, but because we had less fear. Family gatherings felt different now. I did not compare. I did not explain. I listened. I realized how often money had made me defensive, quick to justify, quick to prove. Now I had nothing to prove. There came a moment that tested everything we learned. The car broke down, old, tired, just like us sometimes. The mechanic explained the cost slowly. I nodded. Years ago, I would have panicked, used credit, fixed it fast. This time, I paused. We looked at the budget, we waited, we planned. It took longer, but we paid cash. Driving home, I felt something unexpected. Pride, not loud pride, calm pride. The kind that comes from doing the right thing, even when it is slow. The hardest forgiveness was not from others. It was from myself. I blamed myself for years of stress, for lost time, for pressure I brought into my home. One night, I sat alone again at the kitchen table, but this time it felt different. The same clock ticked on the wall, but it did not feel heavy. I realized something important. I did the best I could with what I knew then. Now I knew better, and that was enough. I stopped seeing money as the enemy or the solution. It was just a tool. When you said slowly, it builds. When used fast, it destroys. Dave Ramsey often says, personal finance is 80% behavior. I finally understood that. It was never about numbers. It was about patience. Life became smaller and better. Walks instead of shopping, home meals instead of restaurants, conversations instead of distractions. We celebrated small wins, paid off balances, emergency savings growing quietly. No one online knew, but we did, and that was enough. Sometimes late at night, I think about how close we were to breaking, not financially, emotionally. Rushing money decisions had almost cost us trust, connection, peace. Slowing down gave them back. If this story sounds familiar, know this. You do not need to fix everything today. You do not need to be perfect. You just need to stop running. After a while, the changes stop feeling new. They became normal. Budgeting no longer felt like punishment. It felt like care. Saying no did not hurt as much. Waiting did not feel like loss. It felt like control. Our home sounded different. Less tension in the air, more calm in our voices. We talked about money without fear, without blame, without shame. That alone felt like a miracle. I began to notice small things. My spouse smiled more, not big smiles, soft ones. My child talked freely, asked questions, shared thoughts. I realized how deeply money stress had shaped our moods before, how carefully everyone had been walking around me. That realization hurt, but it also healed. One evening while washing dishes together, my spouse said, "I feel safe now." Those words meant more than any paycheck. Not every day was easy. One afternoon, I received a message, a promotion offer, more money, more hours. Old habits woke up inside me. I imagined faster progress, bigger plans, quicker results. But then I paused. I asked myself a question I never asked before. What will this cost me? Time, energy, peace. We talked it through slowly. We said no. And that night, I slept better than I would have with any raise. As we slowed down, I stopped judging others. I saw friends chasing fast money, rushing upgrades, living on edge. I recognized myself in them. I did not lecture. I did not advise. I listened because I knew now people change only when they are ready, just like I did. One night, I wrote a letter, not to anyone else, to myself. I wrote about fear, about pressure, about trying to look successful while feeling lost. I wrote about learning patience the hard way. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. It was not for remembering, it was for releasing. Success used to mean speed, more, now. Now it meant balance, bills paid on time, savings untouched, dinner together. I learned that wealth is not loud. It does not announce itself. It sits quietly, waiting, protecting. Dave Ramsey once said, "If you live like no one else, later you can live like no one else." I finally felt the truth in those words. Sometimes I still think about that earlier version of me, the rushed one, the worried one. I feel compassion now, not regret, because that person led me here to patience, to wisdom, to peace. And I know now Moving slowly with money is not falling behind. It is choosing a life you can breathe in. Thank you for watching my video. And you also inspired and motivated with